All right, good evening, everybody. This is going to be a daily video update for March 14th, 2020. First one I've done in quite a bit. I was having some health issues earlier and on into the midweek and late week, but I'm back, and let's go ahead and delve into it. And let's take a look at Bitcoin here on the daily chart. And before everybody gets too all fired up to just think that this is a bottom, let's just realize one thing, that bottoms take a while to process. Okay, you can get a nice bounce off something, right? Right here was a fib cluster that we had at right around 3,900. And if you zoom out, you can see that going back, we had this longer term trend line, which has been major resistance, and it still will be for the foreseeable future, it looks like. But we had a trend line going from the low back here in December of 2018 to the higher low. It did dip below it, did not close below it. But that's not the point of this whole thing, right? So what I want to do is show you how bottoms work, right? And you can see where we're at right now. We've had a major slice through everything. But on a minor, well, I should say it was more of a, and I'm sure back here it probably looked like the world was coming to an end from 63.70 all the way down to 30.65. But let's look at this and how do bottoms form, okay? So I'm going to zoom in on this, okay? And everybody was wanting to try to buy it right here at 51.90. Got a bounce, couldn't get through the 10 EMA. Now price was outside the lower Bollinger Band, got back inside, couldn't break the 10. Sold right back off real hard outside Bollinger Bands, pulled back in, sold back off again, got a nice bounce, but did not close above the 10 EMA. It pierced it, did not close above it. Another sell-off. Where was the bottom? Right down here, okay? We had a low right here, another low right here, but once we got the close above the 10 EMA, that was the signal, okay? And so it came up, tested the 20, and eventually the next day it went up, came back and retested the 20, and then you can see it just went choppy for a while, formed a nice little bottom, and then all of a sudden it took, if you go back and look at it, it took from December all the way until April. So about 4 months worth of bottoming. It was choppy, just a rounding type of bottom, but that's how bottoms are formed, true bottoms. Okay, I mean, occasionally you might get a V bottom, but those are very rare. And so can we expect the same thing here, right? It's almost a replay of what we're seeing. So, the thing is, just keep an eye on the 10 EMA. That doesn't mean you can't trade this, okay? You can trade it, but you have to be careful of when something gets to a resistance zone. Don't think that that's the ultimate bottom, okay? I've proven that by just going back and showing you what happened back in 2018, early 2019. So just keep that in mind. We've got the resistance zones right in here. First one right here obviously is at 5,900, and then you go up to the more important one, which is going to be around 6,500. So that's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. And obviously with everything that's going on with coronavirus, we know it's going to be choppy. So this is actually more or less like a day trader's paradise. So I don't know that I would be sitting here trying to think about buying it for the long term yet, because I still think there's a chance we go lower and possibly revisit the 3167 area. All right, so that's my thoughts about everything on that. Let's go over and take a look at, I'm going to pull up the S&P 500, and pretty much a similar situation, right? And I'm going to just point out real quick. Oops, hang on, didn't want to do that. I'm going to change the pointer focus so you can see it. But again, short-term bottom is what it's looking like, but it's not one that I think is the bottom. Okay, this is one that could bounce all the way back to here, 28.31, and then everybody gets giddy and thinking that's the bottom. We're going higher, right? It's a violent, bear or bull market rally, or in a bearish market. This is a bearish market now. So we have to treat it that way. Okay, so now you're looking to get into positions when they sell off and then get out when you get the hard rallies like this. I think this one could, actually get up by Monday, probably get up to 2,800. And we'll see what happens at that 38.2. There's also, I'm not going to call it, great resistance right up here, but the bigger resistance for me is going to be 3,041. That's the 61.8 retracement. That's also the 200-day moving average. So we'll see how this all plays out. We could get a major rally just for the short term. And then after that, I think it sells off some more. So we'll see how that plays out. Going back to the crypto market, and I'm going to get my pointer focus again back to where it needs to be. And we're going to take a look at, let's go over and take a look at Litecoin and see how it's doing. Again, just holding this 127.2 retracement, excuse me. But slow stock, or this, excuse me, the stochastic RSI is just, you can see what's happening here. It just hits this area and then it turns. So be careful. I mean, let's see if we can get in and stay inside these Bollinger Bands, and just let things pull back in, and then obviously we're going to come back for a retest, but let's let things get tight before we get to the next move. All right, let's go to, let's take a look at some others. ETH. Pretty much the same as Bitcoin. It's pulling back inside the lower Bollinger Band. Still a chance it might hit 152 if you get one of those wild rallies back to the 10 EMA. But then after that, you got this right up here at 183, which is a fib cluster, the 200, 233, which I think is going to be major resistance. So we'll see what happens there. Link, pretty much the same thing. This thing just sold off hard. But we've seen what it can do, right? We can see what kind of moves it can make. So this is one you want to keep an eye on, because if things really do start to turn, this is going to be a fast mover, much as XTZ. That'll be another fast mover. People hop right back in that one. One that I really thought was really interesting I was watching today is this HBAR. And I want to say that it was a member in channel that told me, because I had it on my watch list, and I was looking at it today, and I was like, well, why is it up 30% when, everything's kind of down and, bearish? This thing just keeps making higher highs. Lower lows, higher highs. So one to keep an eye on. Obviously I wouldn't be chasing it right up in here. But there, it's possible this thing could make a run to 900 or 933 before that move is over, and then it, comes crashing back down, probably, in the 600s, and then after that, lower low again, and then maybe a higher high up here to, who knows, maybe over 1,000. So keep an eye on this HBAR. I'm not saying chase it right now, just watch it. What else do we got? Let's go look at XRP. Much the same as the major cryptos, just hanging around at that lower Bollinger Band. Still could go lower, but right now it's trying to make a higher low. So is that a more important low, at least for short term? We'll see. So we could get a bump. We'll see what happens. What else do we want to look at? I will go, I'm going to go back to the stock market for 1 minute here. And I'm just going to point out one chart, okay? And this is just, this is the VIX. This is the Volatility Index for the stock market. And ever since I've been watching this thing, and I'll get my pointer on it here, changing the color. If I was to pull this on a monthly chart, and you can see the kind of move it's made right here, okay? Let's just take a look at this. obviously, if you got in here, kudos, right? I did buy, and of course, I was too impatient, but I bought some VIX calls back in here, and I was happy with a very small percentage gain, and just kind of let it go because I thought this thing would pull back, right? And it never did. It just gapped and then kept going. So, dumb on my part, because if I had held, would have been a nice gain. But anyway, regardless, let's go take a look and see what happens with this thing. So normally, for those of you that don't understand the VIX, okay, it's the Volatility Index of the markets, right? And so when you get high prices in the VIX, that's extreme fear or fear, okay? This right here was the financial collapse in 2008, and it hit 90. That was the bottom of the market and the start of this bull run, okay? Where are we at today? We're at 78, or at least that's where it hit, and it pulled back off of that. So is that, pointing to a bottom in the market? I don't think so just yet. There's still a possibility this thing goes up to 90. I don't, in my heart, I just don't think it's going to get there. I really don't. I think, we're going to see some down moves, but I think the VIX is pretty much done up here. So, but we'll see. I've been wrong before. I could be wrong again, but I'm on short-term bullish on the markets right now. And so that's what I've got on the VIX. And that's pretty much what I've got on everything right now. So you guys have a great evening. Obviously, I'll be in Discord. If you have any questions, just come inside and I'll be free to answer them. Y'all have a great evening. Thanks.